Hi, I'm Jasmin Paris, a fell and mountain runner, and we're at the Kendal Mountain Film Festival. Well, I guess for me the Paddy Buckley was the hardest, but it was the last one that I did, and it was after a really full season of racing and running, so I think that really sort of contributed. And also it's I hadn't really recce'd it, so I hadn't been around the route and I didn't really know it. So the other two, the Bob Graham is slightly less wild, the Ramsay is definitely the wildest of the three. Well, I think it's a combination of things. First, they had a fantastic support team, so the support team was largely friends, and so that really helps if you've got friends around you, and they made all the difference. And secondly, I actually just love being in the mountains. So even when it was really hard on the Paddy Buckley, when it was like the sunset on the fourth leg, even though I was suffering incredibly, I still appreciated it. It was still beautiful. So I think those two things really. I guess at the start of the season I knew that I wanted to try and run all three.
Yeah.
But really it was just to see how fast I could run them. For me it wasn't so much breaking the records. And it wasn't until I'd run the Bob Graham and it was quite fast that I thought, well, maybe I can do the others quite fast as well. Okay. So going into the Ramsay, I had a sort of thought that I might try and, so I broke the men's record in the Ramsay round, and that was sort of a subconscious aim before I started. And by the time we got to the Paddy Buckley, I just wanted to get around. In terms of what's the hardest, actually a part of the bit that was really hard was all the organising beforehand. So trying to organise a really good support team and have multiple weekends, because you want to have a good weather window. So I organised more than one weekend in a row for potential attempts, and actually did move the date of the attempt when the weather forecast wasn't good. So all the organisation, I must have sent about 300 emails in the last week before the Paddy Buckleys. Probably a couple of times. On the Ramsay round, we'd set off at like 3 AM, but it was Scotland, so but by the time we sort of got to the top of the first hill, the sun was beginning to rise, and so we set off, we ran it, I'm trying to remember, anti-clockwise. So I ran along the Moors first, and you could see, as you were running along that ridge, you could see on the opposite side of the valley the 4000ers, and all the cloud from the mist, or early morning mist from the valleys was rising up, presumably on the other side of the 4000ers, and sort of cascading over them. So it was like a waterfall of cloud.
Wow.
Against the sunrise. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
And then as I say, on the evening leg on the Paddy Buckley, Wales just splendid that day, so that was a pretty amazing sunset. I guess on the Bob Graham, so I set off with this really rough idea of a schedule that was a schedule to break the ladies' record. And when we got to the top of the first mountain, we were like 10 minutes up on the schedule. So I can't remember, it was an hour split or something, an hour 10 maybe, I can't remember. But basically we're significantly up already on that split, and it felt really easy. So I guess that soon I realised that this might be on for that day. It wasn't until we sort of got 2 or 3 legs in, but probably it was the fourth leg on the Bob Graham, the penultimate leg, that I sort of realised, oh, this is definitely in the bag, this will be a record. Yeah, I mean, I guess I just tried to eat as much as I could. So there's things that you can eat more easily. Like later on, when it starts to be hard to like eat anything dry. So, baked beans. I ate baked beans on the Paddy Buckley, and that was good. Rice pudding, that sort of thing. Fruit salads when it's hot. And if you've got the luxury of having someone carry your kit for you, you can have that sort of stuff. Obviously, if you're running on your own, then you want something light, so it's not ideal. And then at the end, I guess really gels. You can get gels down, although you start feeling a bit sick if you eat too many gels. The last couple of legs of the Bob Graham, all I ate was like Haribo sweets and Coca-Cola, so it wasn't really a good advertisement for nutrition while you're running. It's really the terrain that's different, so there's a lot more runnable kind of track, hard track. And I guess even when you're going over the mountains there, it's like, it's not that technical. The paths tend to be quite sort of hard packed, flat. So it's not like you're going over, you know, rocky, mossy type of bogs. There was one bog on the UTMB, I remember, just one, and lasted about 10 metres. And so it's completely different than the style of running you do here. And the main thing was there was sections of road, and I really hate road running, so that was tough, and it was really hot. But on the other hand, there's this amazing atmosphere, so there's like everybody turns out to watch, the incredible support in the towns and things, so it's definitely a race that's worth running. It's not generally the sort of race I would do every year, but I'll probably go back to it at some point. Probably the Ramsay round.
Yeah. Why is that?
Because it's sort of a mixture of things. It's sort of local to us, so it's like our round. It very much felt like a team thing, with the whole round just being passed between us, the record. It's the wildest of the three. It's logistically the hardest to sort of support, and yeah, biggest mountains, just some sort of most where I feel most at home, really. Yeah. My background is more sort of as a hill walker than as a runner, so it wasn't that I started off road running and moved to hills. It was more that I started off walking in the hills and moved to running in the hills. I guess it was probably naturally going to happen, but in terms of what sort of ignited it, a colleague at work, when I graduated as a vet, I was working in small animal practice in Glossop, in the Peak District, which is really sort of one of the meccas for fell runners. And a colleague suggested I go along to a local fell race, and I did, and it was great fun. So. No way. I was probably towards the back.
Right.
I used to be quite happy if I was placed in the middle of the field. Well, I guess I should mention that my parents took us out into the mountains from the age of from when we were really small. So in terms of that initial spark of sort of putting mountains out there and the wilderness and everything, that was definitely came from my parents. In terms of fell runners that inspired me right at the start, I guess, you know, ladies did include Helen Diamantidis or Whitaker, Nikki Spinks, Angela Mudge, who's obviously my club mate in Clan. I think it's just amazing. So, yeah. Those would be the ladies, and the men, you know, Joss Naylor, Billy Bland, the Lake District greats. Well, we've actually got a 5-month-old border collie puppy, so at the moment, trying to teach him not to chew everything in the house, taking him for walks a bit. So I've not actually got that much free time anyway, so I'm doing a PhD, and all the work that I should have been doing when I was racing and running rounds over the summer, I'm now trying to catch up. So, as I say, I'm not quite sure what order, and this is probably for the next few years. I probably want to have a go at the 24-hour records in the Lake District and also in Scotland. There's a couple of sky races that I want to do, Kima, and then there's one called Els 2900. I probably want a GB vest at some point, so I just need to run the qualifying race and do well for whatever event. And I'd really like to actually just go back to sort of the roots and do the long classic Lakeland races as best as I can, because I've run them quite a few years, but there's a few that I've been just outside the record for, and I guess I'd just like to give them a real good shot and sort of think that I've tried my very best for those, because actually they're sort of just low-key races, but they're really some of the very best races that you'll get as a fell runner. So yeah, those are kind of the plans.